Hey friends. So last night the village board of Gurnee did not vote to approve Pads Lake County purchasing the Fairbridge Inn, the hotel behind us, and transforming that into a fixed site shelter location for single adults. It failed, even though the vote was 3-2, because state statute required there to be 4 votes in favor in order to change the zoning and grant the permit for pads. It was a really difficult night, and it's been difficult today for me to figure out how to put everything into words that I'm thinking and feeling. First, I want to thank the team that rallied around this and rallied around pads, their staff, their board, and the team that really did a huge amount of work with communication and rallying people around this. It was just amazing, that team. And I'm not going to name everybody because I'll skip some people if I try to do it, but just know that there was an incredible team that really came together. I also want to thank all the churches and houses of worship that allowed their names to be a part of the supporters of this plan and publicly endorsed that. And at each step of the way, I mean, that's what the church needs to be about and will continue to be the church that goes out and together and serves the homeless. I also want to thank all of the elected officials, other community leaders, and the nonprofits that all lent their support. So people from lots of different jurisdictions and entities lending their support to this plan that would have put a shelter right here at Grand and Waveland. And so thank you to them. I still believe in this plan, but this plan can't go on now. So I thank all those people, and the slogan became lean in, and they all truly did lean in on this project and really did an amazing amount of work. And one big shout out again is to Executive Director Alan Swilley. He's just coming up on his year anniversary of joining Pads Lake County, and the amount of progress and moving things forward is just amazing. So a huge shout out to Alan Swilley. Also want to acknowledge the neighbors addressed a lot of concerns that they have about the neighborhood. Things that they're seeing in the neighborhood, crime and loitering, unhoused individuals, and all those things are real. And we wanted to keep trying to acknowledge that those things are real. And there's also real problems here at the Fairbridge in terms of what kind of building it is, and crime here and things like that. And we want to be a part of that solution. I still believe that having the pads take over this property would have addressed some of those concerns and would have been a step in the right direction, and would have been a really great neighbor. But now that it's been voted down, this motel will stay as is. There's nobody else lined up to purchase it. There's no other mechanism right now that would do anything except to let the current owner continue to do business as is. Another thing I'll say is that I would accept this vote by the trustees if I had heard that the 2 trustees voting no, if I had heard their reasoning being based on facts and data. But I didn't. What I heard is conjecture and kind of assumptions. I heard a reading of an anonymous letter that was slanderous towards Evanston and the Margarita Inn in Evanston that is a similar model to what we're trying to bring to Lake County. If there had been data, I could have accepted this vote. But as is, it just feels like a vote done out of fear and feelings rather than seeing all the facts that were really laid out. Just disappointed about that. I want to address a couple of questions that are already coming up today. What's next? I don't know. That's way above my pay grade. I'm just a champion for PADS, and there will need to be plans. There's always been a need to be a plan for more shelters anyways. We have the Waukegan one that will be ready in 6 to 8 months. There was going to be this one. There was always going to need to be, and still needs to be, a network of shelters. So I don't know what's next. But it's not as simple as, we couldn't buy this house, so we'll just try to buy a different house up the street. Got to understand that all of this was dependent on creating that whole permit application, an architect's plan, viability, all of those kind of things, plus pulling together a whole bunch of grants. And so it's not as simple as saying, well, you'll find another place, because it's going to take a lot more work to find another place. Also, I want you to understand that there is a cliff that we're approaching in terms of funding. One grant, I believe, from the state is probably lost now because we aren't prepared to go through with this plan. There will also be funding from the federal government that runs out sometime next summer, and that funding is putting PADS clients into temporary hotels around the area. So those are hotels that are still operating as hotels with PADS clients renting rooms, funded by the federal government. Those funds will run out sometime next year, and unless we can somehow get more shelters on board before then, we're going to have a cliff effect of many, many, many homeless, unhoused people. And so just know that today, I still believe and hope God's got this, and He will continue to lead and guide this. But today can also be a day of grieving for what was and what could have been. So it's okay to grieve. Also, I want to address the fact that in this, those who were opposed to this proposal communicated with their group, communicated to trustees on public record with some things that are definitely slanderous, misinformation, lies. They slandered me, they slandered others, and slandered Alan Swilley, and it's disgusting, and it's not how we are to operate, and this is not the way we want the community to be trying to make decisions and talk together. So I am hurt and saddened by that, and that leads to some broken trust as well. Also, though, I think the biggest thing is that the slander and mischaracterization of unhoused individuals, the way, just the rude ways that people spoke in public comment and other places, the assumptions that people make that if you don't have a home, that must mean all these other things. And it's just really, really awful. Our passage for worship this week is from Galatians chapter 5, talking about the fruits of the Spirit. And even if we're struggling to understand somebody's place in life or what they're going through, still to speak with kindness and gentleness and compassion. that's the kind of people we want to be, and I hope that we were able to demonstrate that. Even as we were very passionate about this plan, I hope we were able to demonstrate the fruit of the Spirit as well. In the end, this is still our shared Gurnee and our shared Lake County. We are not going away, and we will share in supporting all of our neighbors and working together to help those who are unhoused. And so it's a shared project together, and I hope we'll continue to rally together around that. Two last things. One is, as soon as I sign off here, I hope you'll continue watching the video because I'm putting in a clip from last night's meeting, which is when Trustee Cheryl Ross, Bethel member, made some powerful statements about why she was voting yes and why she was encouraging her fellow trustees to vote yes. Cheryl was brave and courageous and demonstrated her love of Jesus by demonstrating her love of neighbor and love of community. And so I thank her from a deep place in my heart for what she did last night. I thank her, and also thank trustees Greg Garner and Jeannie Balmus for their emotional words and their commitment to voting yes last night. Finally, the last thing I'd like to say is I dedicate the work we've been doing and the work I've been doing, I dedicate that to the homeless friends that I've had over the years, the people I've gotten to know and be a part of their lives. As maybe we met while they were in pads, but then got supportive housing and made through different transitions. And so I dedicate this to them, but I especially dedicate it to our friend Wendell Wayne Wager. We're coming up on a year anniversary of his death, and I still miss him very, very much. Brother in Christ, a friend, and someone who had faced many challenges, and someone who had experience with pads. And I know for a fact he would have been thrilled to hear about the Fair Bridge Inn plan, and thrilled if that could have been the model that was used when he needed help. Because going from church to church to church, it kept him off the streets, but it was really difficult on him in his health. And so he would have been overjoyed to know that we were working towards this other kind of model. So this is for Wendell, and we'll keep doing this work for Wendell, for the others who don't always have a voice, but we can speak and act out of love for Jesus, speak and act for their sake. Thanks.
All right, Trustee Ross. Okay. It's been really hard to sit here and listen and not be able to say anything, but I do want to make several statements. I've listened to every speaker, read every email and every letter. I have empathy for all parties involved. It's truly a dilemma. I hear the voices of fear and anger and division and mistrust, and it pains me because I've always thought of goodwill and compassion as elements of Gurnee. When I think of Gurnee, I view all of Gurnee, and I don't ever think of East and West, and I'm surprised when people have such strong feelings. Is the dividing line Route 41, or is it the tollway? It depends on who's doing the comparing. We don't have a property tax for the village. We do pay school taxes, library taxes, park district, forest preserve, township, and county taxes. But look at your tax bill, and you won't see the Village of Gurnee listed. So all of your services, such as taking care of the roads, snow removal, water infrastructure, fire protection, rescue services, police protection, and more, are provided because of healthy sales and tourism tax revenues. Our dedicated staff does an excellent job of providing services to all of Gurnee. It doesn't depend on your address. Our staff carefully reviewed all aspects of this proposal and determined that it was thorough and accurate. I respect the professionalism of our staff. We have heard people say, "We love our home, our neighbors, our neighborhood." We were asked to drive through, and we saw well-kept homes with beautiful landscaping and children playing outside. I've personally been to the Gurnee Garden Center at least 6 times since May, and I've never felt threatened by the environment. The only major thing I found objectionable on the east side, East Grand Corridor, was the dilapidated Fairbridge Inn. I don't doubt that people have had problems, but the sad truth is there are panhandlers, car break-ins in many sections of Gurnee, especially since the pandemic. We can all agree that the police have been called to the Fairbridge Inn too many times. And this has been the case for many years, not just the last couple of years since a few PADS clients have been housed there without direct supportive services. I have spoken with many people who can't believe that the neighborhood wouldn't want this eyesore to be improved so that we can more effectively attract additional businesses. Many of the emails and letters start out as supportive of PADS and worrying about the unhoused and helping them, but then it goes to fear and not here. I also want to say that Kevin Woodside is an honorable trustee. He was on the PADS board before he ran for trustee. It was considered an asset to have his police knowledge and his compassion for the less fortunate. He knew when PADS was first considering Gurnee that he would not be able to vote on the issue. Any other insinuations are completely inaccurate. And technically, Tom Hood would not have had to recuse himself from the discussion or vote, but he chose to do so to remove any suggestion of impropriety. His son's business has no relationship or impact on village decisions. While I support the ability to form an opposition group, I think it might have the opposite effect of what is intended. I could cite a number of examples that happened in Gurnee, but I'll cite just one that happened a long time ago. It was before I was on the village board, but I was on the plan commission at the time. There was a company that wanted to build across a 4-lane highway from a subdivision that would have had 1 or 2 semi-trucks delivering and leaving every day. There was a group that was organized, very vocal about not wanting having more trucks going by their subdivision. That objection is almost laughable to us now because current ordering online has resulted in increased truck traffic everywhere. But the voices influenced the village board and they voted it down. It took approximately 16 years before anyone seriously looked at that property again. And I fear the same thing might happen here because the owner of the Fairbridge Inn does not really want to sell the property as seen by the high asking price. So it may be years before we get the opportunity to see an improvement at that site, and the related problems will only increase. When people want to create a business in Gurnee, they go to our economic development director, our community development director, and as trustees, if we hear of an opportunity, we can refer that to the proper individuals. But we cannot make businesses come to Gurnee or a particular area of Gurnee. These are cultivated relationships, and the business owner has the choice of the action they wish to take. And it hurts us all if a business closes. People who have toured the similar fixed-site shelters and reported on positive and the hopeful nature of these facilities. They were clean, well-managed, and the people were busy with their program. We all agree that the issue of unhoused is growing and it impacts the entire Lake County community. I believe we all need to work together to create steps that will lead to long-term solutions. If we fail to act, the program will only get worse. I'm sure that if this passes, PADS will do everything possible to make this a success. They want to have other shelters in other areas of the county, so this could serve as a model for other fixed-site shelters. Since PADS first began operating in the county, they have learned from their successes and failures and are engaged in continuous improvements to their system. If this doesn't pass tonight, I hope that everyone will be patient because it will take a long time to get the improvements that you desire. If this passes, I hope that both the opposition and the supporters work together with us and PADS to ensure this transition is successful and creates an improved environment for the East Grand Corridor. That's it. Thank you.